Coming straight out of Ecamm. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. It's a jam with the Ecamm fam. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam.
Hold it, stop the music!
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
Can I please have your attention?
Now it's showtime. Are you ready? Are you ready for start time?
Let's find out. Ready, let's go.
Skirt, skirt. What it do, people? What it do? All right, listen. We are here today, and we are going to do a quick sort of run through Ecamm for Zoom. What I'm going to do right now is just clean. Oh, no, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. I'm going to clean up some stuff in Ecamm just so that way it is nice and fresh for you guys. So it looks like we're starting from scratch so that you can look like it looks whenever you look like how you look, whatever I said. You know that made sense. You totally know that made sense. Anyway, let me go ahead and pop into live demo mode real quick. All right, live demo mode allows us to show you what it looks like back here on Ecamm. If you're brand new around here, let us know that you're new so that we can, sort of cater this to you. Now, what we're going to do is you'll see over here in my Zoom panel, I have these lovely kin folks over here. Hey, this key. There you go. I have Neil and Andy and Paul dunking in, all hanging out inside the old Ecamm for Zoom. Basically, I scheduled the meeting in Zoom like you always schedule a meeting in Zoom. I started the meeting by pressing scheduled events inside the Ecamm for Zoom window. If one of you guys who have your Ecamm for Zoom, if you could send me the screenshot of just that panel so I can show it to these kin folks, that would be dope. Luckily, my moderators are hanging out in the side over there. So when you first launch Ecamm, the Ecamm for Zoom has a panel, which is this panel here, but it just looks different when it's not live. Hello, some stuff's hard to demo when you're live because you're live. Anyway, so that panel basically says, do you want to start the meeting? Okay, and then that works, and then once you start that, the people who are in the meeting show up in this panel. Now, I'm going to be able to add them to the show. So let's first talk about how we're going to build this out. Ecamm is divided up into basically profiles, scenes, and overlays. And I want you to think about your profiles as houses and your scenes as rooms and your overlays as furniture. So in this particular scene, in this particular house, which is the Ecamm demo, I just have my camera. That's it, okay? Now, normally what I would do is, let me quickly turn off this, is I would hit the new button to create a new scene, and you're going to get a blank scene. Now, when you first get Ecamm, over here under video in the preferences tab, this will be set to camera. And it's set that way so that you don't download the program and open it and you don't see anything. As soon as you get it, change it to blank. Just trust me, your life will be so much simpler if you set default source mode to blank. There's not a lot of, everything in Ecamm is about your creativity. You do whatever you want. And this is the steadfast rule. Trust you me, this is the steadfast rule. It will make your life so much easier. So now I come over here, I have this blank scene. In my blank scene, I'm going to add a colorful background. So I have this colorful background, or I can use, not that one, this colorful background. And where I got those from is on my computer. I have something called my little Ecamm media library, and here's a folder. And in here, I have all of my backgrounds. So, boom, we're going to rock the Pride background today. It's that time of year. All right. So I just dragged that in. You saw me. I just picked it up. If it was Christmas, I would drag this one in. You know what I mean? So you just pick it up, drag it in, hit the little trash can and get rid of it. And now we're going to work with this. So first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to close this preferences window and I'm going to drag my camera in. So here in the camera switcher, I just pick up my camera and I'm going to place it. And realizing that there's basically 4 of us, I'm going to go about like that. We can resize this stuff later. Actually, that might not work. No, it won't. Okay. Let me make that just a wee smaller. Okay. And then now I'm going to add Neil to the show. And it's going to give me a warning over here. So if I were to zoom this in, it says live stream capture mode. All Zoom participants will receive a message that the meeting is being live streamed, even if you're not streaming in Ecamm. Proceed with adding Neil as to the camera list. And I'm going to say, why, yes. And then you could tell it not to ask that again because I got to do this every time. And then so now what I could do is click on the 3 little cheek lays over here, beat it. And then it can say show in a separate window, add Neil to the video source monitor so I can stick Neil to the teleprompter. Sup, Neil? You're like right here in front of me, right? I'll turn that back off because God knows you don't want to look at that. I can remove him from the cameras, assign him to a placeholder, stick him back in the waiting room. I can mute him or I can copy his avatar image. All these things are available to me. Let's go assign Neil to a placeholder. And I'm going to assign Neil to guest 1. Then I'm going to add Andy. And I'm going to assign Andy to a placeholder as guest 2. And then I'm going to add Paul. And I'm going to assign Paul to guest 3. Okay, now, so let's pop back out of this here. Woo! And then I'm going to go to my camera switcher. And I'm going to build, I have these cameras already set up for Neil because I had guest 1 from something I did earlier. But I'm going to take guest 2 and I'm going to apply that as Andy. And I'm going to take this one, guest 3, and apply that as Paul. So now I have my placeholder cameras. I use the camera switcher. There is, by default, when you first get Ecamm, you will see this camera switcher in your main window. And I don't know if it's going to do it now that I'm already live. But there's a camera switcher that shows up down here. I do not use that thing. It just gets in my way. Okay, so I have it turned off. But yours will be by default. If you want to get rid of it, you can go to preferences and turn this guy off, and then it goes bye-bye. Okay, so now, so you can see Neil's comment, right? So I can put Neil's comment on. But earlier, Neil said something from Zoom, and you'll notice the comment has a little Zoom icon down there. And then there's Andy's comment from Zoom. So you can see the difference between Paul commenting in YouTube and Andy commenting from the Zoom meeting. So the comments are there, and there's Andy with the zoom, right? It's all in there. It's all in there. Paul's calling from the Yay area. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So let me just check to make sure that nobody is doing anything. John Dickey is here. Jeremy is supping y'all. And Yolanda is here. All right. Abde is here from Morocco. Boom. All right. Boom. Now, all I need to do is I can pick up this picture of Neil's face and drag him to the stage. And notice that because this was the size that I made the camera last, Neil comes in at the approximate size. So I can pop Neil wherever I want. I have little sort of guidelines in here. I also have a gradient that I use as a background. Where did it? Oh, I know what. I have to stick this underneath it. Hello. So I have a little grid that I can use that I made just in Canva, or actually Illustrator. But you can use a grid to help you line things up. For right now, I'll just use eyeball game. And then I can pick up Paul, and we can slide Paul over here. And then we'll put Andy down here because he's bottom. Don't laugh, Paul. So there's that. And then now what I'm going to do is go in my overlays and come down to where it says add a placeholder comment. And that's going to put this comment here. And I'm going to unembiggen it like such and line them up at the top and maybe give ourselves a little bit of space. So there. So here's a cool setup in order to have a four-way conversation. So now we're going to do this one at a time. Let's get an audio check coming from Neil. Say something fun and spectacular.
Hello from sunny Portugal. There's nothing funny from... I'm a night.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, Andy.
Coming from Indiana, hopefully it's sunny here.
Yeah, and in the conference room that he didn't book, so he couldn't get kicked out.
Right, I stole a conference room from somebody.
And then Paul, did you get set up right now? Nope, we still can't hear Paul. So Paul broke his own audio. That has nothing to do with me. I don't know why. What does your Zoom setting say, Paul? Like, if you go and you click on your Zoom settings, is it showing that your Rodecaster Pro is there? Do you have it muted? Did you say no?
I think this is the quietest I've ever heard Paul.
Yeah. What is probably happening is his crisp is taking over. All right, so you could do a reboot and then come back. That'll probably be the best answer. Super funny. So anyway, the main thing. While Paul is doing that, go ahead, Paul, because your camera's going to come blank, and I can show them what I was talking about this morning on Jeff's show. Somewhere in my computer, I won't look for it too hard, but I have a Paul Duncan. For right now, I'll just use this PNG. Okay, so what I normally would do is right behind this little melon hole that I have for Paul's camera, I would put this avatar. And the reason for that is that when and if Paul's camera were to drop, that would be there, and I would just select it and place it to the bottom. And then so when Paul comes back and I add him back to the meeting, his face will take over that frame, right? And it would just be simple. Now, normally I wouldn't use an avatar. I would use a real picture. But it's really, really up to you how that works. But again, this is how it works. So basically with Ecamm for Zoom, everything you already know about using Zoom still applies. And everything you already know about Ecamm still applies. You don't really have to know much different than this panel will exist. And of course, everybody joined the Zoom meeting from their Ecamm for Zoom, which is weird. But when you join a meeting through Zoom, normal people will call in just like they call in. But us Zoom type folks, Ecamm type folks will tend to call in using our, what did you figure out? Jeremy said he had a similar experience yesterday and he figured it out. So that you figured it out is not an explanation, Jeremy. So I figured it out by standing up, twirling around 3 times and saying Beelzebub, and then it worked. Just make sure that your mic input source is the RCP2. Yeah, okay. So what Jeremy is saying in the side channel here is that for those of us with Rodecaster Pros, make sure that your Rodecaster Pros input. I think the default mode tries to go to whatever your system is. And the one thing that's bad about doing it by the system is that the system will change input sometimes based on various softwares that you open and close. So it's better to actually force it to the exact right microphone than select same as system. And it is very easy to just want to press same as system. Don't do that. Because like you could open another app that has nothing to do with anything like Apple TV, and it will change it because it notices that your interface has record capabilities, right? So certain applications like, not that there's a Netflix desktop client, but I've even seen it where you might be watching Peacock or something, and it will complain about Ecamm being open, knowing good and well I'm not going to, basically Peacock Ecamm, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it's really weird how that works. Okay, so we go to add Paul back, and then Paul is right there. But super, super simple how that just works. And he still say stuff. Now it works. You just have your Rodecaster Pro button
like
pressed. You have the let me sound like this pressed. Oh, wrong one.
That better?
Yeah.
Yes, there's Paul.
Or you had it on one of these. Or you had it on one of these. Oh my God. Yay.
Uh-oh. I didn't do something stupid.
He's back.
Wait, turn it back off. I'll be a freak alive. Sorry, I'm having musical Tourette's at this moment. Yeah, so, it's really funny that system setting thing, if you leave it to that could really jack you up because, your machine will change things all the time and just convert for you. One of the ones that used to drive me crazy, which is why I don't use system audio anymore, is that sometimes it would switch to Ecamm audio and then you go back to Ecamm and Ecamm audio is feeding back into itself and then make weird noises. Because we have these kind of mixtures, we don't need to use that. If you have a plain USB mic or something that doesn't have virtual channels, then you need to use system audio, and that normally wouldn't create a problem for you. But for those of us with, Rodecaster Pro or something like that nature, it can really cause really, really crazy sounds. Okay, so I guess, first of all, chat, people, if you have any questions, this is your chance to ask them. In the meantime, let's go build some more scenes, all right? So just to show you the type of stuff that you can do. Now, so far, the one question that keeps coming up is, oh, but what about my slides? What about them? It's you still do them the way you do them. Like nothing really has to change. Neil, do you have a deck? Do you have a demo deck that you keep on standby? If not, I can send you mine real quick, and then I'll show you. But in the meantime, let's go build that.
I can use.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to build this scene real quick. So I'm going to press new, and then I'm going to add our cameras back in. And just to show you another cool thing, so if I take this little guy and I'm going to use actual Squircle this time so that they're evenly shaped. I always press the wrong one. It never fails. If I go in here to select source or shape, I always press the wrong one. It drives me crazy. All right, so I'm putting like a little wee one. And then what you can do is just pull down the various ones that you need, right? Like such. And then I could just repopulate those with bodies. Body your body, just drag those in. So that part is actually super cool. And then what I can do is when Neil does his screen share, it will show up to me in the Zoom panel. if I'm sharing it from my end, what I would do is drag in a screen share overlay like this, and I will embiggen it as such. And then I will fire up the old Keynote real quick. So me personally, I'm still going to share it the Ecamm way. Now Neil has his one ready. Let me show you that real quick. So let me duplicate this scene. And first I'm going to go Keynote on my end. You should name them properly so that you can find them when they're ready. And then I'm going to duplicate this scene. Oh, that was not duplicate. That was go back here and then press duplicate. All right, cool. Then I'm going to turn this off, and then I'm going to take Neil's camera down here, and I'm going to say add as a placeholder, and I'll set it up as guest 4. I'm going to come back to my camera switcher. I'm going to add a placeholder camera, which now has this. And then I can put this here, hit the, don't do that. Oh, brain cells. Change it to wide 16:9, pop it up there, and then put it there. So this, in this particular case, Neil's screen share is a camera source. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's just what it is. So I can do Neil screen share. And now Neil is in control of his own screen share. He, like Daniel said yesterday, he doesn't have to do the lame old next slide, please. Next slide, please. Like he can control everything by himself. You know what I mean? And so there's that. And in the meantime, I was going to show Keynote, but let me solve another problem. I'm going to leave Keynote open. Let me just open up this deck real quick. And then in Keynote, I'm going to say play in a window instead of full screen. And then I'll just move this to the other side. And then I'm going to duplicate this Keynote screen share. First, let me come here and select primary display, Keynote, not keystroke, Keynote, boom, boom. And then I'll actually play this slide, move this out of the way, and then come back over here, boom, boom, and select my actual deck. So here's my deck, right? And then here's Neil's. But look, we're going to take this even one step further. I'm going to press on Keynote, and I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to be like, DAW. Because if your DAW and your Ecamm don't work together, it is your machine. I bring the most powerful, like memory-hungry DAW on the planet, and I'll fire it up right now and pull up an empty project. Do I have, I'll just pull a demo project just to make it work. Let's do this. It's going to download real fast. Blah, 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 blah. That's when you got that good internet speed. And let it do its thing. And then once it opens, I will switch this to Keynote, switch it to Logic Pro, and bam. So yeah, that will be your system. Ecamm doesn't know how to crash your DAW. It has no understanding of that process whatsoever. That is up to your computer. So you could have a myriad of things pop in, lack of memory, conflicts with something else going on in your system, like so forth, so on, etc. Even so much so that if I did this correctly, oh, I know why. In Logic itself, I have to set my preference so that you can hear it, and I might not have it set for that. Audio, Rodecaster Duo, main stereo. Yeah, that should work. That should work. Oh, we're listening to chat. That's why. That's why. Do I want to pipe it through chat right now? Am I going to break something if I do that? Let me try. Let's try. You know what? We're not afraid. We are not afraid. Change it to chat. Change it to chat. Apply. and press play. No. Anyway, we're not going to worry about why you can't hear it. That might be a whole different sweet set. But the main thing is you can absolutely run it. You can run any program. Like, we don't care what program you're sharing. We don't care how you're sharing it, why you're sharing it. That's really sort of none of our business, if you will. But yes, you could have it conflicting with broken plugins. And that is a very common situation. If you have older plugins, this is going to get into a Logic conversation, which I don't want to do. When you install plugins, I only ever select AU. I don't select VST or any of that stuff on the Mac because I know audio units will work, and then it works. You know what I mean? If you select like a VST program and it gets deprecated or whatever, it can then in turn cause an issue to you, and then you're spending your whole time fighting that issue. So AU should almost guarantee work because those are audio units, which is built-in Apple stuff, and then it just works. So there's that. All right. Let's hear. I know which one I'll try. Famous last words. We're not afraid. What's the worst that can happen? You know what it is. What is the worst that can happen? Yes, it does work. It was just that spatial audio thing was set up wrong. So yeah, it plays. I was making this track to show Sammy how to use the new features, and Mark was correct. Instead of doing something crazy, why not do something simple and it'll work? So Mark was correct. I hate saying that 2 weeks in a row. Mark was right. You know what, Mark? There you go. So yeah, we do not know anything about your DAW. We don't know how it works or why it works. It doesn't concern us. We will play whatever your Mac can show. If your Mac can't run both at the same time, you probably have a conflict somewhere. And if you're not able to trace that yourself, I would just, book an appointment with a specialist or somebody that sort of knows what to do. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. I'm reading Daniel messages live in real time. Don't do that. Okay, so I did want to show something too, since we brought it up. And Neil, hold that thought for 1 second, just to show you like where we're at, because the common question that came up was about power. So let's go to Activity Monitor. And then we'll go to Seeps, give it a second to think. And then let's sort these. Boom, boom, boom. So Ecamm Live is sitting here at the top, running at 124%. With the Zoom open adds another 71. Logic Pro adds another 36. And the rest of them are just sort of Windows servers. Of course, if I were to press play or something on the Logic Pro, it's going to go louder, higher, because now it's working. I just turned it down, but you notice the Logic Pro jumps up. But just to show you, like, this machine is not even blinking doing what we're doing. And I have 22 gigs of memory still available, and it's not even blinking right now to do this. Like, it's kind of crazy. So super impressed at what the machine can do nowadays. And again, that's adding things like me having a Keynote running. I got Logic running. I have Ecamm running. I have Zoom for Ecamm running. You notice there is no Zoom open here because this version is built directly in the Ecamm. It's technically not separate. You know what I'm saying? Mark, I really do believe that I could have done this on my 16 gig M1 Mac Mini. I think it would still do the same thing. Because it's not a direct translation. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. I'm not going to get that nerdy in there. Yes, Neil, you can stop if it's driving you crazy. because you're like me. Like I don't want to see anything that I'm not using at the time. Okay, so from you guys, do you have anything that you think we should talk about in this demo situation that we didn't cover yet? Since you guys, these three people here have way more time in Ecamm for Zoom than me because I've been in the airport.
Maybe you can talk about camera settings, camera effects, just for each of the placeholders. I think we mentioned that before.
Yeah. I always forget that. Okay, so if you look here, and let me embiggen this for a second. I have all of these guys available to me, but because I assigned Neil as a guest one placeholder, I can actually come over here in this window. There's a little magic wand. Don't dig your eye, Andy. I can press on the magic wand, and it's going to give me...
You just happened to zoom in on me when I did.
I was super funny, right? I have these camera effects for Neil. Let's put you closer to Neil. Okay? So I have these camera effects to Neil. So if I blue screen Neil, I can take out his wall. So if he came in with a solid green background, I could actually control the green or blue screen for Neil, right? I also could use the zoom and pan to adjust his size, or like if he had some weird framing, I could do that. Ooh. Man, it looks like you're giving us a substitute teacher look. Don't do that. I started to have flashbacks to high school. Right? The side eye. It's like, Mr. Boyd, what are you doing? Put that down. There will be no cannabis uses in class. Then I wouldn't be able to mess with his brightness. Now, me personally, I would try to handle this pre-show, and I would try to get them to do it on their end, but understand if for some reason you're working with someone who's not very, let's say, capable, then you do still have some control. And so, yeah, that's a good one. I often forget that. And, I know it's one we should show. Let's do this real quick. Let's try not to have a Daniel and Ken moment. So, hold on. Let me create a new scene. So I had Neil's screen share here. And then what I'm going to do is eliminate these three turkeys. And then I got to think how to do this. I need to
You did turn it on in settings.
Huh?
Do you have your active camera turned on in settings?
In Zoom
Ecamm
settings?
preferences. Yeah, active.
In Ecamm settings.
Ecamm, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You have to go to Ecamm preferences,
There you
Zoom, active speaker, and then turn
So
it off.
go down
yourself.
here, go down to Zoom, and then here, let's embiggen this for the folks at home. We have auto admit participants. Never. Right? Auto add participants as camera sources. You can say yes or no. I'll just leave it at never. I like to do my own homework. You do have a thing for live streaming or recording, but right here, include Zoom active speaker camera, and then show me as active speaker when using camera A. I'll leave that off for a second, and I'm not messing with any Zoom audio processing. I do have the Q&A questions set up, and I'm not going to mess with manual audio remote mode. Yeah. Okay. So now in camera settings, I have a Zoom active speaker. So I can place this here, and then
Let me show up in there.
I can embiggen this a little bit. Actually, I would do something more like this. Okay. And then now I have to unspotlight me.
No, you shouldn't have to.
Oh, there
we
go.
go.
It just works. All right. You guys can you can do the Daniel and Ken test now.
Let's see if this works.
Hi, Paul.
Looks
Nice
to
to
be
meet you.
good from my side.
I'm going to
it's
steal it
me.
from Neil.
Me.
Oh God.
Oh, good.
Now-
Paul's back with his audio, so you can switch to him.
Now, so one thing, let's show everybody. say if I didn't place myself here and say I just did like the full, the go in full Andy, what I would then do is go to my Zoom preferences, and then I would add me as an active speaker. Where did it go?
Down a little further.
Boom, right there. Right? So now I could be like, I'm in charge of the show, and next coming to you from the Yay area.
No, you're not. We're in charge.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not.
We're in charge here.
It's our show.
Use this sparingly, people. You're going to drive your audience psycho. You will absolutely drive your audience psycho. So let me go ahead and
You
put
may
that
need to send
back.
little paper bags to your audience members.
Ooh, now here's what's cool. You could actually select whichever of your cameras is the active speaker. So, for instance, if I wanted to do this and then flip this guy around, hold on 1 second. Bing, bing. And then now that's B. Hey, I said flip round.
It didn't rotate.
There you go. So what would happen is you guys could be asking, this is going to be weird because I'm talking, but
Show me how to use that mouse.
there you go. So in a second, I'm talking about how to use this Lilliput. And then Paul would like, well, can you show me? All right, let's talk about this. So Paul asked me a question
Did you
about
change the
this.
angle? Oh, it's
Hold
not
on.
moving.
Yeah, it's not doing active speaker right now.
Oh, because I didn't finish what I was doing. He's dumb. There.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Nope.
Doc, did you drag
Oh,
back?
I know what I
Top
did.
Shot
I know what I
into
did.
the
Hold
scene?
on. I know what I did. I'm super dumb. Okay.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
There it
Bingo.
works.
But what's really creepy is that this is not staying upside down, even though it is upside down.
Huh. You might have found a bug.
Yeah, it's not respecting my camera B settings. All right, we'll talk about that later. But anyway, this would be a good way if I'm doing some kind of, showing how to use a particular tool, and then, Paul ask a question about it.
What's that look like close up?
Oi, all I got to do is, take the cap off and then show the close-up parts. And then when I stop talking, it would switch back to Paul.
That's really cool.
Talk. There you go. There you go. All right, let's stop that. Because
I think the reason why it's not I think the reason why it's not honoring your camera settings is because the active speaker is an actual camera placeholder itself. So if you were to rotate the active speaker, then everybody would come in upside down, but it's not going to honor what you are putting into that active speaker mode, as far as I'm aware. Maybe
that makes sense.
Request.
And then what I would do in that particular case is set my overhead up properly so that it doesn't have to have that problem. Or I could actually do the flip inside the Osbot software instead of doing it in Ecamm. I've always just done it in Ecamm. It's there. It's very simple to do the flip inside Osbot software, and then, problem is solved. So it's not really that big a deal. But it's just cool that if you are a person like, say Lala, who's doing crafting and she has a guest person on, that person is walking her through how to do something, she can have, the various, the speaker can become her hand camera when she's at hand camera mode. So let me switch that back before I forget and then cause a problem at some later date. And then.
That setting comes in handy too when Doc is on the screen permanently and he's got other guests coming in. You don't want your face to be showing up, duplicates in there. So you just want the other speakers. So Doc can be talking his thing and it's not going to impact your active speakers, which is nice.
Ooh, see, Paul, listen. Okay, listen. That's actually brilliant. So let's say I am doing this demo and I have Paul is in my audience, right? Paul is here. And then I'm going to place myself here and I'm going to be this type of camera, right? And then I'm going to put you as active speaker, go back to that little setting that I had and put my active speaker back as B camera. So now when I am talking about this particular unit, you are seeing my hands. I'm doing the demonstration. I'm showing you what I'm talking about. But then Andy's going to ask a stupid question.
Why is your keyboard multicolored?
Because everyone
Because he's
knows
Doc.
everyone knows my favorite color, so I changed the keys to match, along with little knobbies and Doc Pops and the whole 9 yards, right? So yeah, purple is my thing. Paul, that's brilliant.
It comes in handy. It gives you, it gives you some options and stuff like that, which is nice.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
As
That's
long as
super
no one's
brilliant.
trying to steal, the show where we were just earlier, it works out well.
Yeah, that's super cool. All right, so that was a good call on the placeholder action. Now, knowing that you're going to be building things ahead of time, as long as you remember who you're placing where, you can completely build all of this stuff without having anybody in the Zoom. But again, remember, while you're building, if you're unsure, just pop in the Facebook group and be like, hey, people, I need to build out some scenes. Can I get some folks to join me? And then you can send them a link. And the other thing to note is that people can call you from your standard Ecamm interview link. That still works. You can run both simultaneously and not really run into any issues there. Now, currently, I am recording in Ecamm, and if I open up my preferences, you will see I have record all broadcasts. I have my camera A, which is this face, my camera B, which is my overhead, and then I have the Zoom and interview guest. And then I'm also telling it to capture the audio, and it's recording isolated tracks for each of these guys' audio. So if I were to do something cray-cray, like go up to recording and turn this off, it's going to stop, give my computer a second to write said tracks, and then I can go in and pull up what those recordings look like so that you guys can see. So if I go to Ecamm Live Recorderings, today at 8:40 Deuce a.m., here is the folder, and inside that folder, there is Neil, and Neil's sharing, and then Paul, and then another Paul because he quit and came back. And then there's Andy and another Andy. These ones, the little small ones are just tiny. Like, they're not that big a deal. That might have been just me messing around earlier. And then I have my camera here, right? And then I have my camera B here. If I jump down, you'll see me bothering that. And then I have individual microphone channels, audio channels for each of those individuals. And I have a masterful recording, which has everything, which includes all of us, right? So now for live. So when you're done, if you want to do some crazy, crafty repurposing, fam, you can go to town. You can absolutely go to town. I'll return that back on. And you want to hear something super psycho? I have the recording for every Ecamm stream I've ever done. I've never deleted a recording. So it's not here anymore. I moved the Synology into another room, but that Synology is full of recordings going all the way back to the year 2000. Isn't that crazy?
Doc has an AWS center and that other closet door.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid. I should start deleting some of them. But there's literally like 50 terabytes of doc in my back room. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. So yeah, we don't have any weird like auto layout type stuffs or things like that. So when you know that this is a possibility, pre-build your scenes, right? So I would make a new scene, and then I would pop in my little camera like such and find me a little spot. Actually, it's better to do it from the center maybe. I'd pull my camera to about like yo big, have it like that, and then I'll put one over here, line them up, and then I'm holding the option key to drag, put one over here, kind of line them up, and then I can just switch them around really, really quickly, and then you're all good in the hood, right? And then again, because I have control, I can press on Neil's camera and then press the zoom and pan and apply a little bit more Neil. And then boom. Now we're basically the same. And I can level his head to match my bald spot, and then Paul's little coif. And then me and Neil and Paul look like before, during, and after.
I'm not going to ask which order.
You're before for sure. You got all the hair.
You have young on one side, you have old on the other side, and you have really old in the middle.
So we're gonna change his name to Neil Young. There you go. You know, honestly, you two could be related, man. It's not just me. I'm not the only one, right? You two could be related. You could pass Paul as your daddy.
Separated at birth. There you go. Well,
separated
that topic for another show. It's another show altogether.
Yeah, that's a whole different show. Like the guy who does the DNA show. I'm always shocked at the stuff that people learn. It's like, what? That was my auntie. Yeah. So really cool, gang. Again, I think the number one thing that I want to stress to everyone is as you're trying out your Ecamm for Zoom, just know you really know what to do already. And I think another one that's just me, and I'm a little more pushy about it. Sorry, I have hi-hats going off in my ear because I still have Logic running. Let me tell it to stop. Many of the things that we get questioned, I often just ponder to myself, did you try? Because like you're asking a question that even we haven't tried yet. So we'll have to go try it to tell you, yeah. And in that time frame, you could have actually tried it and found out by yourself. So don't be afraid to press buttons. We have an amazing group of people designed to come in and help you unscrew something you screwed up. If you need help understanding that it's safe to press buttons, talk to Daniel. Daniel breaks everything.
Everything.
And no matter what Daniel breaks, Ken and Glenn fixes it. And so I would say a lot of the stability that we are running right now actually has a lot to do with Neil and Daniel and David coming in and is like, hey, this almost there, but this isn't doing the X. And they're like, oh, okay, we didn't notice that. Because as a developer, you can't think of all of the myriad ways that someone might try to do something. You know what I mean? At no point in time did the inventor of the taco think that Taco Bell would wrap it in Doritos and dip it in cheese. That thought never crossed their mind. And then now it's a crunch wrap gordita. I know what to do. I wonder why no one joined when they were all in the waiting room. That's a setting, Marcus, you can set. I purposely like to keep that waiting room setting. I think it's just a safety mechanism, but you can definitely do that. Anything else we missed, Neil?
I'm just trying to think. So an active
Paul?
speaker.
I was thinking too. You caught active speaker was the one I thought of, and you covered that. You covered the chat. No, I can't think of anything. I'm sure once we hang up, I will.
Bro, that happens all the time. Jason has a funny one. You don't know what to beef up unless someone points out a spot that isn't beefy. This is kind of true. Yeah, unfortunately, this is one of the things you have to actually just put into the wild. So let's talk limitations real quick. You can have up to 8 people in your meeting from the Zoom side. And remember, you could have up to 10 people in your meeting from the Ecamm side. So I highly do not suggest this, but if you were that crazy, you could have 18 people plus yourself, 19 folks in a meeting. That would be crazy. I would highly suggest not trying to record that. And it will work. It will work, but that would be, oh my God, that would be crazy. Now, another thing, let's check. I forgot how to check this. I wanted to see what you were coming in at, Neil. So let me go to Neil here. So Neil is coming in at 720 right now. And Powell is coming in at 720 right now. Now, what happened, the reason why my guys are coming in at 720, Mark, see, I already knew where you was at, homie. I beat you to it. The reason why is I, few years ago, sent that email to Zoom tech support that was like, please do that, right? Like, please give me the better option. I don't have Business Plan Pro Premium Plus, whatever it's called. So mine is 720. If I had that higher plan like Daniel, then I could get to 1080. Now, Neil, do you have that higher plan?
I got it recently from Mr. David Paskin. So I joined his group. So yeah, I just got onto the higher plan. So if anybody's on a free plan coming into my production, everybody will come in at 1080.
Yep.
Correct.
That's the beauty about Zoom. Yeah.
So basically, what I could do is open up Zoom and hand you the meeting, and then it should change Paul. I think that's what I was
coming into my production, though.
Yeah, he'd have to start the meeting.
Oh, I thought Andy started the meeting and handed it to Jeff. Okay, that's what happened. All right. But I just want to point out what Jason said. This is so hard for people to wrap their melons around. But that until you go to zooming things in, like I zoomed in Neil a little bit and you don't even notice it, right? If I was to zoom in Neil a lot, sorry, Neil, this is going to be painful. If I was to zoom in Neil a lot, then it might start to rip apart the video, right? You see this? Ooh, I tried to. Damn it, Neil, don't do that. Wait, go back to the center. Like as I moved, if you see the edges, how they got a little soft, that's where you run into the resolution problem. And again, it's still not even that bad. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still not that bad, considering that we're going to be watching this on our phones on the old YouTube, right? If I was to take my camera, which is coming in at 4K, and I hit that same switch, like there's no breakdown. All you see is melon and wrinkles. Crystal clean. Crisp and clean with no caffeine. Right? So if you go to do some repurposing, yeah, that's going to come in handy. But again, like for your product, people talking about their video quality, it is not going to make a difference. It literally isn't going to make a difference. And it's kind of crazy that so many people are still stuck on, I need 1080 60. But why? But why? Please tell me what you're doing. Like, are you doing this? Your whole stream is you doing this? Like, I don't really get it. I don't get it. All right. What did... Oh, Andy. I mean, not Andy, Roy. Roy said 720 at 120. Go away, Andy. I mean, Roy, dang it. Andy and Roy be messing me up. I'm becoming old. Yes, we do need 8K. I just can't wait until we get it and all of the people realize how much bigger the data is. I think a lot of people forget that too. If you were to take a file and just take your camera or your phone one day and set your phone to 24p at 1080 and shoot exactly 60 seconds, and then do the same thing again with the next resolution, 60 second next, and then look at the differences in file sizes. Like the jump from 1080 to 4K isn't double. It's 4 times bigger. It's actually 3.36, but that's another conversation. But it is way huge. It's hugified. And I don't think people really got that, and they don't really process how much you're going to do. Like, it's going to be crazy. And here's Daniel's answer right there. See this Mbps, the megabits per second? That is what controls your picture quality. So if I can send you 720 at 200 megabits per second, you would not know that it wasn't 4K unless I went to go zoom in. If I was at the standard ratio, you'd be like, oh my God, is this 4K? Nope, 720. But high bit rate. You know, sarcasm comes across much better in 4K 60. Listen, Roy. Oh, and believe it or not, cameras, the modern cameras in the broadcast space are up to 12K at this moment in time. All right, so that's, you gonna say something, Neil?
Yeah, just one quick thing. I was going to say that we talked about the limitations of people 8 coming in from Zoom and 10 from interview mode. That's just coming into Ecamm. But you could have a Zoom meeting going on with 50, 100 people in your Zoom meeting. It's just that bringing those participants into Ecamm, you're limited to 8, but you can still broadcast to as many people as you want, depending how many people are in the actual Zoom meeting. So it's not a limitation of how many can be in the Zoom meeting itself. It's how many people you can bring into Ecamm from your Zoom window.
And you can actually have that meeting with like 1,000 people in it. You just can have 8 panels.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
almost
exactly.
forgot that.
Yeah, and you can mix and you can switch them in and out and do what you want, right? That, although I wouldn't want to produce that show.
Daniel would. Daniel's crazy.
That's what we have Daniel for.
I was going to say, what's the biggest Zoom meeting that you've been in?
Over 1,000.
Really? Oh, for me, it's like 400.
And it was insane.
The chat is impossible to keep up with. That's the crazy part. Yep. Let's just see. Daniel said, are you streaming in 4K? So here's a funny thing about, I got to set my placeholders for different scenes. I should also learn to speak English. I will double check. My personal streams is set to 4K. This one is also set to 4K. It will start out in 2K on YouTube. You'll always see it in 2K, but when it finishes processing, it will process it as 4K. That's just how it works.
And we're doing ultra low latency in YouTube so that the questions are liver.
Liver, yeah. The questions are liver. I do have it on ultra low latency.
That's a new word.
Marcus said, I need 18 friends. He said, I need 18 friends so I can bring them all in. That's funny. That's funny. Wow. 7,000 across 7 rooms. Wow. Holy Chrysler. That is insane in the membrane.
You would have to have
give you guys a couple minutes to ask some questions. And yeah, so let me answer Reed's question. Here lies the challenge. Ain't nobody talking to you, Siri. Reed, here lies the challenge. The MacBook Air M2 can absolutely handle this. I've done a stream on my MacBook Air M2 in 4K with 8 participants in the standard Ecamm interview mode. It works flawlessly until it doesn't. So I think we go straight to performance, but we don't think about performance for a long duration. So my car can do 180 miles an hour, but it can't do 180 miles an hour for 24 hours like the GTP version of my car. There were some modifications made to handle that level of performance in thermals for that long. Your M2 processor, your M3 processor in the MacBook Air is exactly the same as what's in the MacBook Pro. But the MacBook Pro has 2 fans to keep it from melting itself. What the MacBook Air does is it slows down in order to keep it from melting itself. And I think people get this mixed up because the processor is the same. So the engine in my 5 Series is the exact same engine as the one that they use in the GTP or Lamaze class, but the one in Lamaze class has way more titanium and way more aluminum and a lot of carbon fiber and a lot of, things that are designed to cool it differently, and even uses a different type of fuel. So while I can hit that top speed, I can maintain that until the cops catch me, or I can maintain it for maybe like 5-10 minutes. But the one that's designed for the racetrack, that can literally go 24 hours. They stop long enough to change drivers. So it's the same but different. So the problem with the Air is the thermals will cause you issues, and it's not worth it. Like you're not saving anything or whatever's, it's causing you issues. And I was going to not get that nerdy, Mark, but Mark is also correct. The performance cores and the efficiency cores are smaller in the Airs as well. There you go.
And if you keep pushing it, it ultimately will just turn itself off because it's too hot.
Yes. Now, like Marcus said, you can do 1 guess. I did 4 guess for 3 hours. It worked flawlessly. But I also don't do crazy things in my streams. I don't do twirling backgrounds and all kind of other weird stuff. Now, I'm glad Victor added this, Victor Sass, at the end. The other problem, Mr. Anderson, that you'll run into, thermals degrade. So here's a prime example. Most people don't think about this. If you have a router in your house that's 4 years old, it no longer gets the internet speeds it used to get when that router was brand new, because the thermals of those chips get slower over time. And it's not because everything else is faster. That's also true. And your ambient awareness of seeing stuff faster starts to get to you. The amount of heat that goes through these things really does slowly degrade these chips, which is why SSDs don't have permanent storage. And the other day, I finally had my first one. I went to go mount an SSD that I hadn't mounted in 4 years, and it will not mount. Because they have to have electricity course through them. But if you don't course electricity through them, it will just not work for no reason whatsoever. Daniel said, I tried the NBA M2 and it capped out when I ran Ecamm and Zoom together, pre-Ecamm and Zoom after 15 minutes. See, there's another problem, right? Your thermals can run in. So yeah, it's not really. If you are going to run an Air, you have to make your show major vanilla. Which is why I love my Air, dude. It was the best computer. It's so light. It's so fun. It's so easy. It's also why people, how come we don't have Ecamm for iPad yet? That's another one. Wait, everybody grab a drink. That one comes up all the time, but yeah, it's not going to be ready.
Because you always say live streaming is like the most processor intensive application that you run on your machine, unless you're 100%. Doing like gene splicing. So
100%.
It's going to generate heat.
It generates a ton of heat. My favorite thing now, which is funny to me, is that people touch their computers and goes, oh, my computer is getting hot. And go, okay. And they go, isn't that bad? No. When your computer gets hot to where it can't take it, it just goes. So if your computer didn't sleep, it's fine. Like your hands are not a thermometer because you can only handle 122 before it starts to hurt. Your computer can handle like 140. Depends on your computer.
Computers get hot. I mean, back in the old days with supercomputers, when we had the craze, I mean, we had an entire infrastructure that ran liquid coolant through the machines to keep them cool because they generated that much heat. So
that is cray. Get it? We used to have a cray at Maui Supercomputer Park. Daniel said Ecamm Live for Apple Watch. Yes, we all have the same microphone and very similar inners. This in-ear that I'm using right now, I just changed. These are my KZN ZSN Pros, but I also have the CCA CA4s. I have the KB Ear Lark Pros. They're all basically the same. One driver, one dynamic driver, roughly around $20, Dean. I have a link, docrock.live/IEMs with an S. They're all basically the same. But they're good. They're very good. Price for the buck. They set you back like $20. I normally buy them 5 at a time because I either give them away or I just swap them out when I don't feel like cleaning it no more. Because it's $20. Encoding video is the hardest, most power-hungry process for your computer. 100%. That and mining the coin, which is kind of sort of almost the same thing. Really though. Let's see. Yeah, same mics and same gray beards. Neil, we're going to have to add some color to your little microphone over there.
I do have a purple one, actually. It's in the drawer. I must pop that in, and then we can just be purple color coordinated.
Here, let's
You don't have the purple one.
Yes.
Not yet. Not yet. Not the Doc special. So
you can pop round.
That's available on Fourth Wall, Doc. Is that right?
Yeah.
Pretty soon. I was doing product pictures the other day, and I just remember why I stopped taking product pictures for people. It's a pain in the butt. So I gave up and I ordered the cones, and so my cones are coming tomorrow. That's going to make my product picture taking better because it was pretty dumb. Daniel said your time is coming. All right, gang. I think we covered all of those questions. And then listen, we're going to be around. And if you have any questions, comments, feedback, you want to try stuff, first of all, jump in the Facebook group. There's so much happening over there. You'd be surprised at the level of celebritant that will slide through the Facebook group and ask us questions. Ecamm for Zoom, you really know what to do. You really do. You've been doing this already. You just don't know it. This makes it so much easier. No more loopback. No more weird stuff. Mark said we got Teletubbies going on. Yo, that's actually pretty good, Mark. That is actually pretty good. So yeah, there's going to be here. You know what? I want to match Paul. Okay, there's going to be a lot of videos coming out. Neil has done an amazing video already. Kat has done an amazing video already. Daniel's going to make one that has to do with larger meetings and some of his weird Daniel sauce. That sounds crazy. So we have a lot there. Next week, I believe the demo will be in Spanish.
You're doing one, and then there'll be a Spanish one later in the day.
Oh, so I have one more?
Yep.
Okay.
You have a couple more.
Man, y'all cannot fire me and tell me to stay here and keep doing stuff. So I've been fired. I've been fired from the demos. So Neil and India and Paul and Kat and all these other people are going to do the demos, and I'll only show up to be sassy once or twice a month. Everybody else will be doing their stuff. So you get to hear Neil's sexy voice more often than me. Hi, this is Neil.
Yeah. Basically, the live demo is going to be every other week. Then the week that the live demo isn't is going to be you doing a Zoom session. And then the second Tuesday of every month is going to be a live demo in Espanol.
Entiendo. Got it. So yeah, the Zoom thing is going to be cool. We are going to require you to have camera on, and we're basically doing live clinic. You come in, you bring your stuff, you set up, and we're prepared to do work. It's not just going to be hanging out. It's not just going to be going looking. You're going to come and learn how to do stuff actually. So you're going to show up with a white balance card, and we're going to white balance your camera. We're going to do real deal Holyfield things. I think I said that right. Don't ask Katie. Ask Katie and Paul. They just make up stuff, and then I just do what they say. It's irritating. Anyway, gang, we're out of here like Vladimir. I appreciate y'all. We will see you on the flip side. This is cool. I love this Ecamm for Zoom action. This does make things so much simpler. I can't believe I'm saying these words out loud because I would just do it the way I normally do it. But I appreciate you
I
guys.
never
Thank
thought
Niels for
I'd
staying
hear
up
you
late.
using that 4-letter word.
What word?
Zoom.
Oh, you silly. You silly. Oh, you got me. You got me good. Thank you, Neil, for staying up late. I know you're probably ready to close your head now, so enjoy.
It's all good. No problem.
It's Friday. You can drink now. See you guys next week.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
DJ Doc Rock. DJ Doc Rock. Coming straight out of Ecamm. For the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam.